Chemtrail. Chemtrail.
It's fake. No, it's real. The chemtrail, it's fake. I say it's real. What is it? Fucking chemtrail. Chemtrail.
Chemtrail. We're poisoning you. Your government is poisoning you.
So let's find out. So Marcus Conte reporting on the chemtrail, contrail, contrail, dropping aluminum poisons on the great people of this planet, right? So let's take a look at what's going on, right? Is it true? Is it real? Is it fake? Again, I baited a couple of people. I baited you, masturbator. I'm the masturbator. I'm a government shill. Oh, what else did you guys fucking call me? Government shill. Fucking. Oh, he's working. Conte works for the government. He's working for the government in a conspiracy to make the chemtrails not known to people. Oh, he's working for the other side. So what else? So my career was started as a whistleblower, accidental whistleblower at in an agency in New York City, and I was able to expose on national television the use of ticket quotas. How amazing, right? I found law enforcement to be engaged in ticket quotas here in the city, and I was able to talk about that on the news. I blew the lid off of it, and you can see those videos in my early work. Also, what else? I fucking remember chasing George Webb. I'm just giving myself credos, right? Because people are saying, "Oh, Conte, you're circling the drain with chemtrails. You don't understand what's going on with chemtrails." Well, we're going to talk about it. I might come to the conclusion at the end of this, because it's going to go on for a while. I may come out the other side saying, "Yeah, chemtrails are real." So you're just going to have to watch the video all the way to the end, because I already have the conclusion in my mind. In this mind, will then spill out into this microphone about what chemtrails are, right? But what else? I mean, come on. I was the guy that fucking with George Webb. I told you guys that the guy was a fraud with 10,000 fake stories, possibly killing his sidekick. Fucking what's her name? Jen Moore. Remember? That was me. I told you all about this shit. Or fucking Jason Goodman, the money grabber, fucking Israelite, whatever he is. Right? Come on, man. So let's talk about chemtrails. I don't want to talk about myself. The Donald Trump talking about, right? Is that the new politics? You just talk about yourself. Right. So let's jump into this. So I'm going to start off with a couple of videos. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 videos lined up. 7 videos. So let's just start with one of the more common videos that debunks the idea or talks about contrails. Just hold on, all right? Just hold on, because I'm going to get to the real conspiratorial stuff in a minute, and then we're gonna look at Joe Rogan also had something good to say, so we'll look at that too. Watch. So that's an explanation of the. If you were reading along, it talks about humidity. It talks about how condensation occurs through jet engines and such, right? And but here's the fact, right? So just some facts before we roll on, right? Right now, at any given moment in the United States, there are 5,000 planes in the air. In the course of one day, a 24-hour cycle, there's 100,000 planes in the air, right? Up and down, 100,000 planes take off and land in the United States in a 24-hour period. Now, at nighttime, there is an effect, right? There is a biological geoengineering effect of having a plane in the air, right? And it does have a global warming effect, and it also has a reflective effect. The clouds that it lets out, but we'll talk about that at the end. And in fact, at night, what if planes fly at night into a condensation trail? They actually cause radiation to stay in the atmosphere rather than reflect it back up. So there is no. Let's just continue and I'll keep going. Right. So here's the geoengineering watch guy. Right. This is the guy that. Thank you everybody who put their. I'm trying not to make fun of this. I'm trying to take a grounded approach to understanding the phenomena of streaks in the air, right? For lack of a better term. There's these cloud streaks that definitely are coming out of planes, right? That's all I'm trying to do, right? So I thank you all for your chirping in on the last video and dropping links. I went through a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. And a lot of it pointed to this gentleman right here, Geoengineering Watch guy. Geoengineering, right? I'm not going to put the links down. You could see the link. You could see where I am, right? This is where I'm doing it. Right? So here's a site, and it has all this information about geoengineering. I'm going to play one or two of his videos, and you see, crisscrossing. They're crisscross patterns, right? Or maybe it's by an airport, Anyway, but let's so let's see. Do I have one of his videos queued up? Yeah, here he is. Oh, this guy's good. Watch, this guy's so fucking good.
Had not heard of the geoengineering term until recently. New term to some people here. So we have what we have is typically with definitions. They'll try to give the real definition of what's happening amongst a lot of completely fictitious, impossible definitions, like putting space mirrors up, painting all our house roofs white, as if that would matter. So you have to learn to sift the baby from the bathwater, but climate engineering is a very recognized science. If we start geoengineering, there's no going back. That's what we're told. It's called double catastrophe scenario. And in fact, that couldn't be...
Double catastrophe scenario. Listen to some of the terms he uses. Wigington. Dan Wigington. Just listen to some of the stuff he says.
Further from the truth, if you have a drug addict who's told the withdrawals are too severe, you need to take more of that drug.
He's got that crazy stare. He's got that intense strung out on rabbit hole.
Is that really good advice? And the same is true for the planet. When you interfere with the planet's life support systems, you get a very horrific result. And rest assured, the science community will try to convince us at some point that we've been committed to an experiment from which there is no return, and to convince us that we should continue on. But in fact, if we don't allow the planet to...
Doomsday. There's no return. There's no return. What is the motive? They always try to keep in mind, what is the motive for spraying the sky? What is the motive? To kill off people? Is that what he's saying? Doomsday? Is that what he's saying?
Respond. If we don't allow the hydrological cycle to resume, the ozone layer to rebuild itself, I would argue, mathematically speaking, we have no chance.
Now, we've all seen that pattern of crisscross. Now, this is some video he's pulling out of his ass from vintage 1920s.
These are historical films of what can be done with a biplane, a small biplane that carries a very small payload. And that much can be done. How much more can a fully loaded military tanker, KC-10, KC-135, C-17 Globemaster, how much more material can they put in the air?
Now, this is something that we don't see in our sky. When did you ever see anything like this in our sky? When you look up, instead you see the streaks that linger, not something like this. So he's mixing apples and oranges. He's making a gross reference to a 1920s film with the Hindenburg. I think it was a blimp that just flew through the center of the thing.
About 500 times more with a single tanker. So consider how long this has been going on, and yet we have academia today telling us that this isn't happening. It's all in our mind, and that's all condensation. Do you think that's condensation? Absolutely not. And that's from a single biplane. This is from the 20s, by the way. Now,
the 1920s. That's from the 1920s.
The next image coming up, how many have been told that the B-17 bombers of World War II leaving the trails is proof this is just condensation?
It seems like some kind of military activity where maybe they're trying to create a wall, a visual wall from them and the enemy so that they can build up. I don't know. Who the hell knows what it is? But it doesn't, he's making the assumption that the crisscrosses, he put the crisscrosses in the beginning together, and he's putting this other thing together. He's putting two things together that shouldn't really.
When you see the next image, you'll see that is absolutely provably false. That's a spray dispersion.
A spray dispersion.
And when you see, the military-industrial complex was more than willing to sacrifice bombers and bomber pilots to experiment with weather modification before the end of the war.
He's just making assumptions that the military-industrial complex is willing to sacrifice people. There's no real facts here. It's just one vintage clip, and this right here, which is explainable, and I will explain it.
And as you see that plane shutting off, we got this off the military archival footage. You cannot shut off condensation like that. That is not.
Yes, you can.
Condensation. For all those who tried to convince us that these bombers were emitting condensation, the massive trails, that is absolutely false, and that proves it right there.
Okay, so that's his proof. Good work, Dan. Give Dan a round of applause. Dan Wigington gave us that. All right, so there's his proof. Now let's look at some of Joe Rogan. There's a lot here, so we're gonna be here for a while. Just listen to Joe Rogan for a while.
What would you like me to debunk? And one of the first ones was chemtrails, because you cannot debunk it. It's real. Dun, dun, dun. I would say this to anybody who thinks that has got to be the most ineffective government program of all time. Like, you ask people what they're doing by spraying things in the sky, and the number one thing they'll say is, like, weather control. Weather control is one. Well, they don't have any fucking control of the weather, because if they did, they'd make it rain all over Santa Barbara and stop these fires.
Yeah.
I mean, there's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of damage going on right now. There's a fire that's bigger than the city of Washington, D.C.
They think they're making those fires. They think that
that's
that's
right.
part of the conspiracy. Anything that happens is always part of the conspiracy.
Anything that happens is always part of the conspiracy. Who is this guy? This guy's a writer about rabbit holes. He's not an expert. He's not a geoengineering expert at all, but he's somebody who follows the rabbit holes. And who's Joe Rogan? I'm no fan of Joe Rogan. In searching for chemtrails, he popped up, and there it is, right? Here's a guy. He's very popular. This guy, how many millions of people following him? I don't know. 2.5 million subscribers. 2.3 million subscribers. Joe Rogan talking about chemtrails, and Joe Rogan seems to not agree. I lean in. So far, I'm leaning in this direction.
What do you think it is? Like,
so he's saying, right, so if there were fires over California and you could geoengineer them to make rain down on the fire, you would do it. But no, that's the conspiracy, because you want Santa Barbara to burn, because that's where all the rich pedophile elites are, and you want their houses to burn down, right? Is that the conspiracy? Is something ridiculous like that?
What is it with conspiracies? Like, why are they so attractive to people? There's something going on with people, right?
Yeah. I think, I've been looking into this a lot.
I bet you have. Especially since you're a government shill.
Well, I'm doing...
So this guy, right, they're calling him a government shill because he wrote a book about debunking rabbit holes or the psychology of going down the rabbit hole. And we're all victims of that. I mean, we're all, to some degree, we go down rabbit holes, but some people are not able to, once in, get out. It's like drug addiction. You say, I like this. And then I'm not an addict. I'm no drug addict. But then you go down further and further into it, and you realize you can't get out of the hole, right? You lose the sight of the hole, right? Where did I come into this hole? How did I get into this? I never signed up to be no heroin addict, right? And all of a sudden you are, right? Same thing with conspiracy theories. I've been saying it all along. I said it from the beginning that Q is exactly that. It's very similar to this.
Doing research for the book I'm writing, which
Right.
is called Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and it's about how people get into the rabbit hole and how people get out of the rabbit hole. So the whole thing
Right.
is about the rabbit hole, which is something basically people get sucked into.
Right. So that's, I'm just going to fast forward because, so he's talking about that guy's perspective is he's coming from the perspective that it's a rabbit hole, right? That chemtrails are a rabbit hole. And guys like that we just saw, Mr. Engineering Wiggy is a conspirator in that rabbit hole.
Weird would it be if all of a sudden clouds from jet engines started appearing and it just appeared right before our eyes and we hadn't noticed it? But I wasn't sold. It didn't make any sense to me because my thought on it was the amount of people that had to be involved. You're talking about all these different airplanes, get all these people to keep their mouth shut. These are they're pilots, right? So they're not making shit tons of money, and they live here too. That's the other thing. Like if they're actually spraying something in the sky, they live here too. Like what are they spraying themselves?
Well, the theory now is that it's basically the power elite in the country is doing these chemtrails as a kind of last-ditch attempt to maintain power before the entire world collapses into chaos. So they think it's kind of like a desperate situation.
A power grab.
Well, not exactly. It's they're hanging on to have their kind of last hurrah. Like really, they feel like the end of the world is nigh. Like, there's about to be this environmental disaster, and the chemtrails are the only thing that is holding everything together. That's the thing that you get if you go to Geoengineering Watch, that Dane Whittington guy.
So there, Geoengineering Watch guy, he's talking about that guy that we just watched.
He's basically an apocalyptic prophet now. He's basically preaching about how everything is going to end soon, and
I found that guy first, and then I found this video, right? And it was exactly what I was thinking when I was watching him. I was like, wow, this wig guy is twisted on something. He's jacked up on something.
the chemtrails are the only thing that's stopping it, but they're also making it worse. So he's kind of saying, like, the chemtrails are helping, but we've got to stop them, otherwise they'll make it even worse. But we're pretty much all going to die either way.
Yeah, there's a lot of money and we're going to die. There's a lot of people that love that trope.
It's doomsday prophet. That's what they're talking about, right? So Wiggy is a doomsday prophet. Watch this.
Chemtrails. When we did that television show together, you said chemtrails are like the training wheels for conspiracy theorists.
Yeah,
because they're like they're right above your head, and you just you see them right there. For people who don't understand why jets produce clouds, please explain that, because it's
okay. So now we're gonna right. So here it is, right? Here it is. This is the explanation that you've been waiting for.
Jets produce clouds. Please explain that, because it's very simple. It is very simple. Jet engines have water in their exhaust. If you look at a car on a cold day and you see the exhaust coming out of the tailpipe, you'll see like a cloud of condensation sometimes, and you'll see some water coming out. And when the exact same thing happens with jet engines. And when that exhaust hits the cold air, it condenses, it freezes, it makes a cloud. And contrails are essentially clouds. They're exactly the same physically as a regular cirrus cloud.
And it's dependent upon the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, and you can actually monitor it online.
Yeah.
NASA actually has a website that will show you, and I believe it's set up for pilots, right? Is that what or air traffic people?
NASA actually has a contrail forecasting site,
Right.
which isn't really for pilots
Anything?
or anything. It's just part of their contrail research. But yeah, they have a site where it'll predict like where the contrails are going to be. But you can do it yourself. You just got to look up the relative humidity at a certain altitude. There's lots of different sites you can go to. I've got a whole bunch of them listed on Metabunk.
And just like the clouds vary in the sky, the amount of moisture varies in the sky as well, which is one of the reasons why you will see a jet pass through one area and you will see a contrail, and then it almost looks like they shut the contrail jets off, and then you see it pick up maybe a couple hundred yards later.
Yeah, and that's, you say like a cloud, it's really exactly the same as a cloud. If you look at any picture of a cloudy day.
So again, there was the explanation for why why it seems to go on and off, because you're traveling through the Earth. It's different, especially when you're traveling 500, 600, 700 miles an hour. You're moving through atmospheric changes, right? Through humidity changes. We don't have to be an expert to you don't have to have an expert opinion of what is going on, but as the plane travels at lightning speed through the air, it hits different pockets of humidity, of barometric pressure at certain altitudes and such. And that's why it appears to go on and travel for a while and then go off, because it left that particular area of humidity.
And then just remove all the clouds, but they're still there as invisible clouds. Then when the plane comes along, it's almost like the plane is this magic pen revealing these invisible clouds. Because all a cloud is a region of the sky where the humidity is above a certain level. So you know that the humidity is pretty patchy across the sky, because like there's a cloud here and right next to it there's no cloud. So where the cloud is, it's high humidity. Where the cloud isn't, it's low humidity. But if both of those were just lowered like 10%, then you get no clouds at all. Then a plane comes along, it raises the humidity in the cloud area and in the non-cloud area. But this area, because it was a bit higher, you get a trail forming, and this area you get no trail forming. So it's exactly the same as invisible clouds.
Yeah, and for people that are watching it and you're looking up, you think they're spraying something if you're conspiracy-minded. And because of a lot of the videos that are out there, in particular two that were recommended to me are what in the hell are they spraying, right? So I got to meet with that guy that made those documentaries, and right away I knew something was wrong. Like he's either on Adderall or something. He's just like real edgy and speeded up and just an odd guy, which is like a lot of people that are conspiratorially minded. They seem to be like they're nervous and agitated. And when we went over like why one of the things that he was talking about was the soil samples and water samples, and that they've detected all this aluminum and barium in water.
Listen to this very carefully. This is interesting. So this is the guy who wrote those two or published those two big videos.
And particularly aluminum. And he's like showing me all these results that he had. But even on the very results that he showed me, it said sludge. Like he had sent them out for testing. And I said, well, what did you send? And he goes, well, I sent some water from these, ponds. And I said, but it says sludge on your testing. And he said, no, but it was water. I go, okay, but the lab said it's sludge. I go, what is sludge? He goes, well, I don't know what sludge is exactly. I go, well, let's look. Sludge is a combination of water and dirt. Okay, so you sent water and dirt. So do you know that aluminum is one of the most common metals on Earth? And you could basically scoop up a patch of dirt pretty much anywhere and find a bunch of aluminum in it. It's really, really common in trace amounts. I go, so what you did is you tested dirt, and it tested positive for being dirt. I mean, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. And the guy was kind of freaking out. I'm like, how did you not put this together yourself? Like, if you're the guy who's making this video and you're trying to find a reason why you could, some facts that you could throw at people. We could say, hey, look, the government is definitely spraying things in the sky. They're spraying aluminum. Look, we found the aluminum, and we found it in the water. It's in your water supply. It's going to get in your body. It's going to poison you. Look, we found it in the water. How the fuck did he not look at it himself is what I was thinking. And me
Because he didn't want to see it, right? Because no, I already know. See, there's the evidence, right? So the other thing about aluminum in the water, right? Aluminum, if you're fearful of aluminum, look at your aluminum pots, right? When you cook with you fry something with an aluminum pot, you're getting way more aluminum in your body from that aluminum pot, or using aluminum foil, right, is very bad, actually very bad for your health, right? You trace amounts. Aluminum has been connected in some way to Alzheimer's disease. It's not proven, but there seems to be high brain concentrations of aluminum in people that get pre-Alzheimer's before their time, right? Get a little confusing, right? The other thing is, you use an iron skillet. That's the way to get around that. Cook with an iron skillet. There's one more clip from Joe Rogan, and we'll move on. I don't know what he says here. I don't even remember what he says, but let's see here.
Will bounce back in a terrible way, and it'll be a big disaster.
Well, that's an interesting thing, because one of the reasons why contrails are interesting to study is because they actually do have an effect on the temperature of the Earth. And this is something that we found out after 9/11.
Listen to this too. Okay, so here's the case that the geoengineering, or the chemtrails, whatever we want to call them, they're all the same, do in fact have an effect, right? They do have an effect on temperature. And Joe Rogan makes the point of 9/11, when all planes were downed during 9/11.
When September 11th happened in 2001, it was the big disaster. There was a shutdown on all flights in the United States. And when they did that, the temperature changed. Because these clouds literally do provide like a cover. And do they act as an insulator or an escalator?
They essentially act as an insulator. They block incoming radiation during the day, and they block outgoing radiation at night.
Okay, so they're blocking, they actually, one cancels out the other. So if you leave a trail in the day, it would essentially block radiation coming in, if that's what we wanted to do. Block radiation? Is that the idea? I thought it was to make rain and control the climate. The other thing is, if the chemtrail is at night, it blocks the radiation from getting out. So to actually want to do something like that doesn't make sense, in a sense. There's no motive to want to do that. That's what I said in the beginning, motive.
But the net effect is that they actually block more outgoing radiation than they do incoming radiation.
They block more outgoing than they do incoming, right? That's this guy's assessment. I trust this guy. I don't know why, but I do.
So if planes didn't fly at night, then you would cool the Earth down. You'd have to stop flying, quite a bit before nighttime. So if all the flights in the world were between 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. local time, then you could actually cool the world down by just not having any flights at night, because it's the night flights that have this really big kind of blanketing effect that stop the outgoing radiation.
So that's an interesting fact right there. That so if we flew in the daytime, we would actually get an effect of the effect that we wanted, which is less radiation hitting the planet. I guess that's the effect that we're looking for, right? So that's Joe Rogan. What else we got here? So here's the other clip someone brought to my attention. Here's John Brennan, the CIA director at the time under Obama, talking about geoengineering, right? Now, John Brennan is trustworthy, right? This is one of the co-conspirators, the lead conspirator inside the CIA that said Russia hacked the elections, that Trump colluded with the Russians, that Trump obstructed justice. This is the number one guy that said it. But now the conspiracy theorists, want to say that John Brennan is credible in this respect. But let's listen to what he says.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels.
Okay, so it's the head of the CIA. He's saying this stuff, right? Now, the CIA tells the truth, right? They go out, whenever the CIA does something, they go out into the cameras and they tell the truth, right? That's what they do?
This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community. On the technical side, greenhouse gas emission reductions would still have to accompany SAI to address other climate change effects, such as ocean acidification, because SAI alone would not remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations. Others might seize on SAI's benefits and back away from their commitment to carbon dioxide reductions. And as with other breakthrough technologies, global norms and standards are lacking to guide the deployment and implementation of SAI and other geoengineering initiatives. Now, I could go on and...
So there is the head of the CIA explaining, not that they do it, not that we do it as a people. We see the sky for a reason to get something happen, to make something happen. But he's saying that the technology and the idea is absolutely there and on the table. Now, John Brennan is an honest man, right?
Evidence exists of collusion, coordination, conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russian state actors at the time you learned of 2016 efforts.
I encountered and
Watch his hands. Watch how his hands shake when he talks.
I'm aware of information and intelligence that revealed contacts and interactions between Russian officials and U.S. persons involved in the Trump campaign that I was concerned about because of known Russian efforts to suborn such individuals. And it raised questions in my mind, again, whether or not the Russians were able to gain the cooperation of those individuals. I don't know whether or not such collusion, that's your term, such collusion existed. I don't know.
So here we go. So here's the same guy that just told you that geoengineering is a thing inside of the CIA is also the same guy that told you Trump colluded with the Russians. He went on to say more about it. If you watch some of the clips that he did on the mainstream media, he was a cheerleader. He was saying that there was evidence that Trump should be thrown in jail and all that stuff, right? So that's John Brennan, the ex-CIA guy, right? So what about this guy, John? Now, so this is Trump's new swamp, right? He pulled this guy out of the sky, right? John Bolton, right? War criminal John Bolton, one of the architects of Iraq, right? So here's John Brennan talking about deception. Listen to this. Does the government lie to us? Yes, of course they do, right? Now here he does in 2010. Just listen to what he says. This is amazing stuff. Watch this.
I want to make the case for secrecy in government when it comes to the conduct of national security affairs, and possibly for deception where that's appropriate. You know, Winston Churchill said during World War II that in wartime, truth is so important it should be surrounded by a bodyguard of lies.
Do you really? He's making the case for government lying to the people, right? And this is who Trump picked, right? This is his national security advisor.
You believe that?
Absolutely.
You would lie in order to preserve the truth.
If I had to say something I knew was false to protect American national security, I would do it. I don't think we're often faced with that difficulty. But would I lie about where the D-Day invasion was going to take place to deceive the Germans? You better believe it.
Why do people in the government think that the rules of society or the laws don't apply to them?
Because they are not dealing in the civil society we live in under the Constitution. They are dealing in an anarchic environment internationally where different rules apply.
But you took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and the Constitution mandates certain openness and certain fairness. You're willing to do away with that in order to achieve a temporary military goal?
And I think, as Justice Jackson said in a famous decision, the Constitution's not a suicide pact.
But you took an oath to it.
That's exactly right. And I think defending the United States from foreign threats does require actions that in a normal business environment in the United States we would find unprofessional. I don't make any apology for it.
So there he goes, right? So that was a clip from Kyle Kulinski, right? So he's talking about deception, the use of deception on the people, the American people, how the government lies to the people. John Bolton, Elliot Abrams, Mike Pompeo, we lied. We lie, we cheat, we steal. Remember that guy? Well, we lie, we cheat, we steal. I was the FBI. I was the CIA director. We lie, we cheat, we steal. We taught classes on how to lie, cheat, and steal. The CIA, right? So Bolton, Pompeo, Brannon, Elliot Abrams, right? All these guys. These are the guys now you're relying on for your information, right? Now. Okay, so because Brannon said, "Oh, there's geoengineering going on," or "Well, we have that technology now. There's geoengineering." Now you believe him. Now you believe him, but you didn't believe him when he was saying that Russia hacked the election and Trump colluded and obstructed justice. Right? Now we believe him. Right? John and Elliot Abrams. These are the same architects that told us there was a catastrophic humanitarian disaster in Venezuela when it proves that there's nothing of the sort, that it was really a oil and power and money grab trying to overthrow a government in Venezuela, as we did in Libya. These are the same guys that advised Trump to get out of, to not stop the war in Yemen, right? My cat is crying. To not stop the war in Yemen, right? And he vetoed that idea. So, hold on. If I don't pick her up, she'll keep crying. So anyway, so let's watch this. Now that we know, we've seen some of that, and then I'll make a summation on the geoengineering. Now that we know what we know, let's watch this geoengineering guy one more time.
Global geoengineering operations are an undeniable reality. Skies all over the planet are now, almost constantly, completely altered from the lingering, expanding, sky-blocking jet aircraft trails. The official narrative that this is all just condensation is a verifiable lie. Look closely at the characteristics of the jet aircraft dispersion captured in this short video. First, the inside left particulate dispersion nozzle appears to be misaligned. Thus, the dispersion trail is not parallel to the other three dispersions from the aircraft. The atmosphere.
A plane can fly with 3 engines. A plane can fly with 2 engines. I believe a plane can fly with 1 engine. 1 engine is out. He finds a video that somehow see one of the dispersion nozzles. It's clearly coming out of the engine, right? The cloud is coming out of the engine. Why doesn't he see that?
Wake of the aircraft pulls the particulate dispersion into a swirling pattern with an appearance very similar to smoke. Why? Because smoke is a particulate, the same as what is being dispersed from jet aircraft as part of the ongoing global solar radiation management operations. The length and consistency of this sprayed particulate dispersion formation is beyond alarming and is exactly the result that is called for in climate engineering patents. This patent, Stratospheric Welsbach Seeding for Reduction of Global Warming, describes exactly what we can observe occurring over our heads day in and day out. To seed the atmosphere with light, scattering, heavy metal particulates in order to deflect some of this.
All right, I've had enough of this guy. Right, so there you see, he's making his case that, he's making this crazy case for his geoengineering right to the bitter end, right? So 40 minutes later, what do you think? Right? I did this because everybody's got their, the balls in a knot, got sand in their vagina over the chemtrails, right? So, I mean, again, I still stand in the same place. I still say that it is just a natural occurrence in planes flying around, 100,000 planes in the air. They crisscross into certain, humidity areas and such, all those things. So I conclude that, that it's just a phenomenon of planes traveling, right? And that's all it really is. I mean, is there a higher conspiracy to it? I don't know, man. I don't think so. I also don't think that the Earth is flat, and I certainly don't think that Q is the president of the United States. But hey, listen, we all have our own opinions this shit, right? That's why life is so interesting, right? Marcus Conte reporting. Kindly become a Patreon of this channel, PayPal or be a Patreon. That's the best, right? And you get some free stickers. You could also go to eBay and buy some free stickers. Buy some stickers for $5, or and definitely subscribe. YouTube is still chopping us down. That's okay, man. Just resubscribe. Hit the resubscribe button. Hit the bell, whatever. Hit the thumbs up. Right? Just make sure that. I guess if that helps to make the videos be seen, I'm not going anywhere. Marcus Conte reporting.